You guys ready? Ready? Are you ready? Okay. Karen? Good? Okay. Happy New Year, everyone, and welcome to the first regular council meeting for the Village of Anmore. It's currently 7 o'clock. Before we get started, the Village of Anmore would like to open our meeting by recognizing the many Indigenous peoples of our area, including the following First Nations with communities that are located in the region that we now know as Metro Vancouver. They would be the Musqueam, Squamish, Tsleil-Waututh, and Coquitlam. Further, we'd like to honor the important place in history occupied by the many. Could I get someone to approve the agenda circulated? Moved, seconded. Any discussion? See none. All those in favor? Opposed? Carried unanimously. I should also mention Councillor Trowbridge is joining us via Zoom, and Councillor Cryer is on holidays. So now I'll move on to public input. Public is encouraged to participate in the public portion of the meeting. We want to remind members of the public that matters raised here are for Council's consideration and should be constructively focused on agenda items only and not on individuals. I will also note that with public input, we will be taking a break as we do with the financial, when we set the budget and finance during the meeting and allow comments at that particular item. We will be allowing comments to be at the thing where we're doing our procedure bylaw. So if there's anything related to procedure bylaw, that we will have a break and have an opportunity for the public to comment at that point in time. So public input. If you could just name and address.
It's Leslie Hannigan, 1065 Thompson. Sorry, I missed that a bit. It is about the Anmore procedural bylaw. So should I speak later about that?
Yeah, I'm going to, when it comes to that time on the agenda, I will open up the floor for conversations and that, okay? Any other public input? Okay, we'll move on then. Delegations, we have two delegations. We have the Real Acts of Caring. Stephanie Belnave and students from Eagle Mountain Middle School are presenting regarding Real Acts of Caring. Welcome. Come on up, or to the microphone.
Good evening, and thank you so much for allowing us to present to you. This is an exciting and great privilege, and we are delighted to be here. First, we will introduce ourselves. I am Kiana.
I am Elise. I am Nicole.
And I am Vienna.
We wish to acknowledge that we are on the unceded traditional territory of the Coquitlam First Nations, which lies within the shared territories of the Tsleil-Waututh, Katzie, Musqueam, Kakai, Squamish, and Stolo Nations, all my relations.
RAC stands for Real Acts of Caring. This is our 20-week RAC anniversary.
What is RAC? The definition of RAC is doing something caring and kind for someone else without expecting anything in return.
And RAC is a movement working on making the world a better place. RAC actually began in the Coquitlam School District in 2005 by a group of grade 4-5 students at the Central Community School who wanted to make a positive difference.
By participating in RAC, we are inspiring other people to pass on the movement. This year, students in Coquitlam School District and in other parts of BC have been working hard to spread the word about RAC.
Some very cool news is RAC is being featured in the BCTF Teacher Magazine in January edition this year.
Students in Saukha School District 67 in Penticton are creating a live video which they are planning to broadcast to school districts and schools all over BC. The week before RAC week is to spread awareness about RAC.
And Erase BC has agreed to promote RAC by sending the Pentequint video link to school districts throughout BC so that classes everywhere can tune in and learn about RAC. How cool is that? RAC is also listed as a resource on the Erase BC website. We are so grateful.
I think that it is so cool that students who are just in grade 4 and 5 started all of this. I feel really inspired by them right now.
Here are some ways that RAC students have taken action by doing RACs in hopes of motivating others to do the same.
We can say hello to someone new and sit with them during lunch. We can hold the door open for others and welcome them with a good morning.
We can smile and say hello to our neighbors. We can leave an encouraging note for a friend.
We can stop to point out if someone's shoes are untied or if their backpack is open. We can do chores without being asked.
We can speak up for someone who's being bullied or treated unkindly. We can make cookies for our classmates and other people we spend the day with.
We can offer to help someone carry things if they're having a hard time. We can ask someone how they're doing and really listen to their answer.
You may be wondering why RAC is important. Well, one reason that RAC is important is because it decreases depression and anxiety. I know that when I do something kind, it helps my confidence, improves my own happiness, and helps me feel more connected in positive ways.
When people see others being caring and kind, it is most likely that they will do the same. And practicing RAC leads to a safer, happier, and friendlier environment for all.
Why spread RAC? Well, if everybody did at least one kind thing for someone else without expecting anything in return every day, the world would be a much better place.
When people are kind, it raises confidence, improves everyone's mood, and people are more likely to go out of their comfort zone to be even kinder.
You can find more about RAC on X, Facebook, and Instagram, or at RAC website at realactsofcaring.org. We are asking if you can support us in this journey to make RAC a bigger part of our lives, passing a proclamation which recognizes RAC Week, February 9th to 15th.
Thank you for acknowledging our work and promoting RAC in our community. We now have a RAC for you. Please let us know if you have any questions.
One final request. Will you please consider advertising RAC Week on your advertisement boards as you drive into Anmore? You have done this in the past and we are very grateful. We know that this is a wonderful way to promote RAC in our community. Thank you.
Thank you. What- Well, don't sit down, you guys. Keep standing up. Keep standing up at the podium. Come on back up. I have had the pleasure of being on council for many, many years, and when this first started up with Harriet Chang, and I just wanted to thank you all for continuing on with this. This is an amazing thing that you're putting forward, and it's something that we lose track of at time to time. So I just wanted to thank you again, and you guys presented amazingly. So good work on that. I think we normally get a picture with you, if that's all right. So if we could get a picture. And I will open it up. And let's just pass the proclamation if you have Ms. Elroy.
Sure, that February 9th to 15th be proclaimed as Real Acts of Caring Week in Anmore, and that staff be directed to post on the village signboards and other communication tactics to amplify the message.
Good. Could I get someone to move that? Moved. Seconded. Any discussion? Councillor Wevering.
I always enjoy this every year. It's one of the more positive things we get on council. And it's so important what you do at your age to consider kindness. Kindness is the most important thing in our society, is thinking about others, thinking about your friends, thinking about the kids that maybe don't have a lot of friends. I love that, where if you see someone sitting alone, you go sit down with them and introduce yourselves. Our generation didn't have a lot of that, and it's so nice to see kids your age feel that this is important, because it really is. Thank you.
Good. Well, yeah, if we can get a picture with the four of you. Come on.
Are we going to call the vote?
Okay. Now we have Anmore volunteers, Amanda Ward, Nicole Hergic, and Julie Mittner presenting about an Anmore community event. Hello.
That was absolutely wonderful to follow.
Nice to follow. He's happy now.
Yeah, everyone, that was so great.
It's always like this here.
I'm sure. We'll believe you.
If you can just speak closer to the mic so everybody can
Okay.
hear. Yeah.
Absolutely. So, we're up. So my name's Amanda. This is Nicole. And Julie sends her regrets. She is working with the Scouts tonight and couldn't make it. And we're here to talk to you about an idea that we have and that we want to share with you and see if we can get your support on. So our idea is to create an Anmore community market, actually in this very room that we're standing in. And we're here to see if you guys can support us in doing that and connect us with one of your existing committees to make it happen.
We consist of 5 volunteers. We've been kind of trying to brainstorm and think of how we could make this a reality for a few months now. And the volunteers within our group currently volunteer within the communities already on the Anmore PAC, the elementary school PAC, the Scouts. We've been a part of the hub events already, the bingo and the ugly sweater dash and the trivia night. So we've got a little bit of experience here. And
Me.
Yeah, you, yeah. Yeah, there we go.
So the motivation for this for us, so Nicole and I are both healers, and that's how we connected originally. Nicole's a massage therapist and I'm a counselor. And we know at the foundation that what creates healthiness in people as individuals and as a community is connection. And so we really we're excited about an idea of bringing people together and more opportunities to bring people together. Mm-hmm. And we're excited about this building. Mm-hmm. It's awesome, it's inspiring. We think it's an incredible place to celebrate the people of our community and to showcase what members of our community do.
And our market would be created for the community by the community. We'd aim to support all our village entrepreneurs and small businesses, create community connections, and maybe if it's successful, it could be an annual event, something we could continue on. We do understand the village currently supports a few annual events, but we think there's room for more.
So the next, oh,
Sorry, we forgot this slide.
could you go one more ahead, please?
Oh, yeah, sorry.
All good. So the next couple slides are just ideas that we gathered, and of course, none of this we're married to. They're just ideas to inspire and kind of get the juices flowing. But we have a lot of artisans and like professional artists in our community and crafters. So this could be a venue to showcase their work. Next one, please.
And so, oh, there you go.
This is me. Nope, it's all good.
And businesses,
Yeah.
yeah, so the next one.
It's okay. So
There we go. So we've got so many entrepreneurs in our village. This would be a chance for the community to support the next generation of business leaders too. There's our schools, our elementary, middle, and high school do an annual entrepreneur market currently, and so we would give the kids another opportunity to like practice their skills and sell their goods. So yeah, optimally it would kind of all coincide together with that. Yeah.
Slide, please. Do you want me to do this?
Yeah, you
one?
you go.
Okay, and of course, because we have a passion for wellness, we saw a corner of this market, not the whole thing, but just a corner dedicated to wellness. There, we see wellness in multiple levels as individuals, families, and community. We know a lot of our generation are taking care of older parents, we're caregivers. We saw that as being a component of the wellness. We know that there is a lot of small businesses in Anmore that are wellness businesses. We have, RMTs, physio, naturopaths. We have a psychologist,
instructors,
fitness,
yoga.
osteopathy, counseling. Like there's a slew of people running businesses from their homes. So this could be a place for them to step out and share what they do. And then also a place for community wellness. We see it as a place where our volunteers can come forward and share their work, like the fire department, search and rescue, and we have the gardening club,
youth club.
Yeah. So it would be a place that people can come and learn about what we do here and how we are connected to each other. Last slide, please. So we just want to thank you for listening to us and considering our idea and considering how it might fit for the village. And the people who have supported us and suggested we come here today thought that we might be a nice fit for the Community Engagement, Culture, and Inclusion Committee. So we just kind of thought we'd put that out there in case you thought so too.
I think you're an excellent fit for the community culture and yeah, I always get it.
Yeah.
Anyway, I couldn't be more supportive. I usually go down to the Young Entrepreneurs Fair every year.
Yeah.
It is amazing.
Yeah.
Last year I got there too late, and literally everybody was sold out.
out, yeah.
It's just, and then I went. They started up at Eagle Mountain.
Yeah.
And it was very, very successful. So it's so great seeing the kids come from a conception of designing something, then selling it. I love their business minds going. I couldn't be more supportive of this. This is what this building is about. It's about bringing community together, getting to know people and meeting people. And I've met both of you at the trivia night and other nights that we've had here. And they've been amazing events. So I couldn't be more supportive. I'll open up to Council Webering.
So would this just be once a year, or would this be a regular thing, or?
Whatever people decide.
Like, I love it.
I think it makes sense to do it like once a year for sure.
Yeah.
And if it was successful, annually would be wonderful. That would be our goal.
Okay, fully supportive.
No,
I think it's like it's a beginning, and I think that's the value of bringing the committee into this and other members, because then we create what makes sense for the community, and then it can grow with time as the community grows.
Yep.
So,
Yeah, exactly.
yeah,
I mean,
it
this
doesn't
is
have to be set in stone.
this is the kind of stuff we built this building for, is so that community groups would come together. I think I have an idea. I want to do this. I want to do that. That's what it's here for. That's what community's all about. So I think it's great.
Good.
Totally.
I'm
Councilor
also in
Richardson?
support, and I'm trying to think how to make your desire a practicality. We make a motion to send it to the CECI. Is that what we need? Do we have a motion?
I do have a motion if council wishes to consider. Mayor
Sure.
McEwen?
Yep.
That the Anmore Community Market Volunteer Group be referred to the Community Engagement, Culture, and Inclusion Committee to provide input on next steps for planning and advancing this initiative.
Someone to move that. Moved, seconded. Any
I can
further
move that.
discussion? See none. Or Councillor Trowbridge, did you want to comment?
It's fine. I was just trying to move it. I think it's very worthwhile.
Good, okay. I'll call the question. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried unanimously. And thank you again for coming and bringing this
Thank
idea.
you very much.
And
We're excited.
please
Look
keep us
forward.
updated on how we can all help out and that.
Thank you. Wonderful.
Okay?
For sure.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Okay. Moving right along. Okay, so adoption of the minutes of the regular council meeting held last year on December 3rd. Could I get someone to move the recommendation? Moved. Second? Second? Any discussion? See none? All those in favor? Opposed? Carried unanimously. Is there any business arising from those minutes? No? We'll move on to the consent agenda. Any council member who wishes to remove an item for further discussion may do so at this time. A? Okay, anything else? Okay, so a motion to move the rest of the consent agenda? Seconded?
Second.
All those in favor? Opposed? Carried unanimously. I'll move back to 7A, Sassmet Volunteer Fire Department Conversion Bylaw. Let's get the recommendation. Could I get someone to move the recommendation? Moved? And seconded?
Second.
Second. Councillor Richardson.
Okay, so this is just for more a point of clarification. I think you guys are much more involved because you're trustees. So fundamentally, this is a procedural step for Metro Vancouver to address Belcarra's desire to look at it. Is that correct?
Not correct, not
Okay.
completely. So so what happened is, in 1978, the letters patent were established on the Sassmet Volunteer Fire Department. I believe in 1991, the provincial government said that with letters patent, they needed to have what's called is a servicing conversion bylaw associated with it. We never had that. The discussion that's going on right now has prompted us that we need to have this, and so this is what this is. It's been endorsed at Metro Vancouver. It comes to this council, goes to Belcarra Council. So that will only affect the existing letters patent. Okay? So with that, any other questions? Oh, okay. So that, I will call the question then. All those in favor? Opposed?
Aye.
Carried unanimously. Okay. I hope I made sense on, that makes sense? Yeah, yeah. Yeah. Okay, we're now on to 9A, contravention of Anmore Building Bylaw number 583-2018, a report dated January 17th, 2025 from our Chief Administrative Officer is attached. I'm going to send this over to Mr. Boyd.
It's been a while since I was at council. I've got to turn my mic on. Thank you, Your Worship. So we're here tonight to present a report regarding a notice per section 57 of the Community Charter at the Land Title Office against Lot 4 Plan 86122, Section 16, Township 36, New West Land District, to indicate that the referenced property is in contravention of the building regulations. So there is a memo attached to the report. Generally, the village building and plumbing official provided the attached memo to the corporate officer on December 17th, 2024, recommending that a notice be placed on title of the property identified as above regarding the contravention of the Village of Anmore building bylaw for commencement of construction without obtaining a permit. The corporate officer provided a notice to the property owner on December 23rd, 2024, that this matter would be considered by council at this January 21st, 2025 regular council meeting, and the property owner would have an opportunity to address the council. Would you like me to make a recommendation?
Sure. Oh,
Yep.
Sorry, I will add, I'm not sure if the property owner is here this evening. So if that individual is here, then they're able to come up and make any submissions to council if they would like.
No? Okay, go ahead if you could make a recommendation.
The council require the corporate officer, as authorised by section 57 of the Community Charter, to replace a notice on title to the property identified as Lot 4 Plan NWP 86122, Section 16, Township 39, New Westminster Land District, PID 016-236-751, regarding contravention of the Village of Anmore Building Bylaw number 583-2018 for commencement of construction without first obtaining a permit as required by this bylaw.
Good. Could I get someone to move the recommendation? Moved and seconded?
Second.
I'll open it up for discussion. I'm glad that this came forward because I've received probably in the last 2 months 3 different phone calls from different real estate agents asking about this piece of property and the structure that's there, if it's how it would become about. So I'm really glad that we're being clear here so that everybody knows. So anyway, any other discussion? Councillor Wevering.
First of all, where is this exactly? What street?
Lanson Crescent.
Lansing Crescent.
That's okay. So this basically means that it's sort of like a do not occupy and no final inspection is basically what it's putting on the title of the property. Is that essentially it?
It's to put a notice on title to know that if you're going to buy the property, that building is in contravention, it cannot be occupied. And
Right.
We could go further than that, but currently it's to put a notice on title to inform people if they were to buy the property that it is not to be occupied.
It's not, sorry?
To be occupied.
Right, okay. Okay, fine, thank you.
Okay, so, may I go?
Go ahead, yeah.
Okay. So I went and looked at it in Google Earth the whole bit. Is it the entire house or just the workshop?
It's the workshop.
Okay. Now, when you put something on title, like if you read 57 and 58, which follows, there has to be a way for them to remedy the situation. What is the remedy?
So there's a number of requirements within the memo provided to the corporate officer. There is some indication. One would be to provide a variance to the property in relation to some of the non-conformance to zoning bylaw would be one of the reasons why it shouldn't be occupied. Another, there was no inspections completed, so a thorough inspection, reports, and engineering sign-off would be another. So it would be a number of steps for them to get through for it to be able to be occupied. That could be removed. So ultimately, it could be removed, depending on council's appetite to waive certain requirements as well. Or ultimately, it would be to demolishment of the building to then remove the title.
So just for my own clarity, it's not that the building is hazardous, or we don't know because it wasn't inspected, or the form, fit, and function violates village bylaws.
We know that it was not inspected and no building permit was taken out at all.
Okay.
For it.
It's approximately 3,000 square feet is what I've been told. It's substantial.
It's significant.
The house or the shop?
The shop.
Okay, because as long as if you do this to somebody's property, it's worth like near $3 million. There has to be a way to get out from underneath it. And I went through like the building bylaw. You can pay, double the fee for if you built without permit, et cetera, et cetera. So I imagine all the fees and penalties would apply as well in order to get them out from under this?
That's correct. So that would just be the building bylaw regulation. There's also zoning infractions as well, which that would be purview of council to waive those infractions if required.
Good. Any other questions, comments? Okay, I'll call the question. All those in favor? Opposed?
Aye.
Carried unanimously. Okay, thank you, Mr. Boyd. Anmore procedure bylaw. This would be fourth reading. So this is where we're going to briefly pause for a moment. We'll allow some public input. Before I get to that, though, I wanted to just read out, we received some correspondence in the form of somewhat kind of a standardized letter that somebody had drafted up and I wanted just to, there's some key points here that were not accurate in what was being presented. So I just wanted to kind of read through those quickly, and then I'll open it up for the public to provide any comments that they wish. One of the comments in this was that public participation should be expanded, not restricted. Revising that criteria for delegations and public input could make it more difficult for residents to raise important issues. Engaging with the community isn't just a formula, it's a fundamental part of good governance. I will tell you this, that public input was not eliminated, but criteria was set, including a 15-minute time limit, which can be extended by a vote of council. Right now, there is no criteria set. This helped set expectations with also providing discretion to all of council rather than being silent to criteria. Delegation rules. Only change was set out only change was to set out process, and there is currently no criteria set for delegations. This change allows for discretion of staff on scheduling and setting delegations, ensuring that materials are provided in a timely manner. Should the delegation be declined by staff, there is now a process to apply to council to reconsider, which provides the discretion to all of council to make that decision. This actually results in increased transparency. Another comment that was made. Simplifying meeting minutes is a risky move. Minutes serve as an essential record of what happens in council meeting. Reducing the level of detail could leave residents in the dark about why decisions are made and who is making them. This process should be more detailed. Well, this addition is simply formalizing what current practice in minute taking for meetings and has been for at least the last 6 years that we have practiced, and also following best practices. This has resulted in increased transparency and setting expectations rather than discretion, as it has been without this clarity. Another comment that was brought up was holding meetings outside our community doesn't make sense. Anmore residents invested millions in the Anmore Hub to have a central, accessible space for council business. Moving meetings beyond our municipal boundaries creates unnecessary barriers for public participation. That's not what the intent of this was whatsoever. This was added simply to allow for circumstances in an emergency situation or where a meeting with another body is required. Notice requirements would still be met to hold meetings. This has resulted in increased emergency business and community planning. So if this building was flooded or had some sort of an issue and we weren't able to host the meeting here, it just simply allows us to call notice and have a meeting in the neighboring building. Another comment was brought up. Changes to committee procedures must protect transparency. Committees often deal with critical matters that impact the community, and their work needs to be reported back clearly and without omissions. Any revision should enhance, not hinder public oversight. I can tell you this, meeting protocols have been outlined to reflect and align with terms of reference and the community charter. Reflecting committees' roles as an advisory body to council, not an oversight role, set process for scheduling meetings and posting of agendas. If there is no quorum of a committee, the CAO may refer an urgent business matter to council rather than wait for a subsequent committee meeting. This has resulted in increased transparency of committee activities and process by which all of council may assign matters to a committee. Another thing came up about electronic participation should be the exception, not the rule. While remote access is helpful in certain situations, in-person meetings foster engagement, accountability, and meaningful discussion. Virtual participation should only be used when absolutely necessary. Well, this has always been the exception and not the norm. Provisions for electronic meetings have been set in this bylaw since it was adopted in 2016, which includes maximum of 2-member participation electronically. In 2021, there was an update to reflect needs identified during COVID. Only current update made under this bylaw is to ensure that any members who wish to participate electronically give minimum notice to staff. Result, addition of notice requirements help to ensure members of the public, council, and staff can hear and see participant and that participation will engage fully in the meetings. Another comment was, additionally, I strongly believe all council meetings should be recorded with both video and audio, with accurate, unbiased transcriptions available to the public. I can also tell you that all council meetings are recorded and available for viewing on the village website and on YouTube. This was implemented during COVID and has been continued. At this time, those changes introduced increased transparency by clarifying process and setting parameters where they do not exist currently. Another comment was, frankly, the scope of these proposed changes and their potential impact on public participation raises serious questions about whether council is prioritizing convenience over community interest. This is deeply concerning, and I urge you to take a step back and consider the broader implications. Again, this was part of a form letter that was sent out and that I'm just providing some answers for. With reviewing and continued improvement measures on procedures and process enables the village to support engagement with the community while ensuring that village processes are transparent, clear, and follow both legislative requirements and best practices. And then finally, I encourage you to engage with residents to ensure that any updates to the bylaw genuinely reflect the values of the community. Procedural bylaws are not just technical documents. They shape how government works. This item has been a topic on several of our recent meetings to the public since March 2024. Notice of all meetings is posted in the village website, and communication through our notice board, email notification, and Facebook. Additionally, notice requirements for proposed bylaw adoptions were met with 2 notices provided in addition to our regular meeting notice tactics. So I just wanted to just simply, this letter being circulated after 3 readings is somewhat shocking in my regard, that people weren't better informed. So I just wanted to kind of get that out before we open it up to the public. So anybody would like to speak to in regards to the Anmore Procedure Bylaws final reading, now you're welcome to. I don't think it's on. Oh, there we go.
Yeah, is that better?
Yeah,
Okay.
there we go.
So you've cleared some things up. And I'm going to say my comment anyways, because it was really hard to hear what you were saying. So having some of that in writing would be great. It's posted somewhere. So my comment on the intent to repeal and replace the Anmore Procedures Bylaw. So the village posted a notice on January 10th listing the proposed changes. I found the changes were very vague, and I found that council and staff failed to communicate why the changes are required, and that's probably why you got the feedback you did. Not only were they vague, but it stated that it includes but is not limited to those items. So we didn't know what the other items were. I believe the public needs to be told like why the council meetings, as you just said, would possibly need to be outside the municipal boundary, because it would of course be more difficult for people to attend when we have a large hub here. The public would want to know why it was necessary to simplify the recording of minutes. It said minor amendments that are not limited to spelling, grammatical, and completing information errors. But what are those minor amendments? It didn't say. We needed to know, like revising the adjournment in the event of a loss of quorum. I didn't know what that meant. General housekeeping, what is that? And regarding the revising the public participation criteria, like I thought we should be told why, again, it was necessary to limit it to 15 minutes, unless council was able to vote and wanted to vote to extend it. Like I realize in larger communities this is necessary, but we have 2,500 people, and I've never seen the public input last more than 5 or 10 minutes, except in the one instance where it lasted over an hour. And that was regarding the decision to look at Icona's proposal. Honestly, like, it doesn't look favorable on council when suddenly it is necessary to amend that clause when the only time it would have been necessary was during the discussion of whether we want to add a potential 3,200 unit development and become an urban village and all that that entails. Like, council and staff, to be honest, that's how you lose credibility, is when they put vaguely changes without details and without reasons why to tell us they're going to limit public input, simplify minutes, and may hold meetings outside of Anmore when this big development is lurking on the horizon. So I just wanted to indicate, I didn't know that form letter was out. I've never read it, and I don't know what it is, but obviously we've got the same concerns. And I just want to indicate why those concerns happen. It's because it was vague, and there were no details, and there was no explanation as to why. That's my comment.
Ms. Howard?
Thank you. Through the chair, there is a council report from November 29th, 2024 that does provide some of that clarification and details. Like, I'm happy to point you to that if you want to send me an email.
Okay.
I can send the report to you or a link. And additionally, in respect of the public input period, there was no specification of how rules were applied during public input in terms of timing and how many speakers and those types of things. So setting the 15-minute time limit and additionally including the clause that can be extended by vote of the majority of members of council, just sets the expectation that it is all of the council sitting at the table that is driving the bus on when it comes to public input. And if all members of council, or excuse me, if the majority members of council do wish to extend public input, then it just sets that clarity on the fact that that is within their purview and responsibility. But I'm happy to go over any of the details once you take a look at the report if you need further clarification, and also invite anybody else to reach out to staff if
Yeah,
there's
I'd like to
further
hear
needed.
the responses kind of that John had commented on in writing maybe, because it was really hard to catch. And I will put on record that I still don't agree with the 15-minute thing. I don't understand the need for that really when it's never been a problem. But thanks.
Thanks. Yeah, like I said, like Ms. Elrick commented, we discussed this. When was the committee of the whole meeting that we had on the procedural bylaw? And some of this was actually dictated through the new Bill 44 that we had that prompted this. When was, do you know?
Yeah, the committee of the whole meeting was on October 22nd.
Okay.
And the original direction from council to undertake a review of the procedure bylaw was March 19th at the regular
Yeah.
council meeting.
So this has been something that has been on council's topic for quite some time. So, good. Any other comments? See none? Okay, so we're moving for adoption. Could I get someone to move the recommendation? Moved and seconded? Seconded. I'll now open it up for final discussion from council. Council Richardson.
Okay, so I have been involved in all this, and I think there's some things that slip through. I'm actually with the residents that the 15 minutes feels too short. I think 30 minutes is far more reasonable, but I can let it go as long as we can extend it. But in section 15, the public question period has been changed from any matters to do with pertaining to the village to any matters pertaining to the agenda. And I never believe we discussed that or agreed to it, and I think that is wrong. I think council should be able to accept questions from the public on any matters of the village at council meetings. So I'd like to amend the motion, if I can, that we change clause 15 to regarding any matters pertaining to the business of the village or pertaining to matters of the village.
Is that a motion?
That's a motion.
Oh, sorry, Ms. Elrick?
Sorry, that motion would not be in order. A bylaw cannot be amended at third reading or
Yeah,
adoption. So in order to facilitate that, should council wish to, we would have to go back, rescind readings, go back to second, amend, read as third, and then we would have to go through the notice and adoption process again at a later meeting.
Okay, so I would move to rescind it now, or we have to vote it down and then, because I think that's a big change that shouldn't be.
So currently the motion on the floor is to adopt the bylaw, so that motion would need to be voted down.
Yeah, okay.
And then a subsequent motion could be made to rescind readings, make an amendment.
If it failed.
If
the
that
motion
motion
failed.
fails, correct.
Right. Any other? No, the motion to rescind would have to be after this fails.
So the motion to adopt is on the floor,
Yeah.
so council would vote to adopt the motion or not adopt the motion. And in that case, dependent on the result of that, we would move forward or not.
Yeah. Comment on adoption of the bylaw.
Okay, I agree with Councillor Richardson. I think that's an important change. I've always liked it the way it was. I think it's never really been a problem. I'm okay with the 15 minutes because I think this council would always extend that if it was needed. But I think I would like to sort of keep things the way they are at the end of the meeting for public question period.
Okay. Any other questions,
Sorry.
comments? Council Trowbridge?
Yeah, I think I'm confused. So how was it before?
Councillor Elwick, can you?
Sorry,
Well, no, the reason
was the
I'm
question,
asking,
how
let me-
was it before?
Yes.
Well,
yeah.
let me be clear. The reason I'm asking is I think I heard Councillor Wevering say, I'm okay with the 15 minutes. But so isn't that what it's at? I don't get
The
it.
15 minutes is not the sort of the point of discussion at this point. The point of discussion is at the end with public question period, that public question period be open to all aspects of village business rather than items specific to an agenda.
Got it. Okay, I'm there. Thanks.
Ms. Elmer.
So if I may comment through the chair that previously it was any village business, but in review and interpreting the bylaw, the procedure bylaw, and the fact that the procedure bylaw states that that items for discussion on a council agenda must be on an agenda item that's part of an approved agenda. That was the rationale behind making that change, and I believe that Ms. Schell had outlined that at the time, if I recall.
Yeah. And it was passed in first, second, and third reading with that understanding.
Correct.
Yeah. Any other questions and comments? And before I call the question of adoption. Okay. All those in favor of adoption?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion is defeated. Okay. So do you have will we have to rescind, or you'll come back to the next council meeting?
If council, the agenda item is still an agenda item, so it would be in order. If council wants to make an amendment, I can come forward with the motion to rescind and do what we need to do with that.
Please do.
I would just need some clarity through the chair on if we want to amend number 15, what language you would want to propose. Would it be on any village matter or?
Any matters pertaining to village business, the business of the village.
Through the chair.
Councillor Trowbridge.
So the only amendment that we're talking about is 15, correct? Yep. Item 15. Yep, thank you.
Okay. So keep it exactly the same as what is on our current agenda.
So in that case, the motion would be that council, sorry, I'm just doing this on the fly here, that council rescind third reading of Anmore Procedure Bylaw 704/2024, and that council provide second reading as amended to amend clause 15 to remove matters pertaining to the agenda and replace it with matters pertaining to village business.
Right.
And to grant third reading following that amendment.
Yeah.
Okay,
can I get someone to move that? Move.
Second.
Any discussion?
So while we're here, if we can amend that for clause 34 and just say in case of emergencies, because it just makes it so much clearer. That's the intent of it. And for people here that, or no.
I think through the chair that the rationale behind that was in case of emergencies, and also should the need arise for council to meet with other bodies outside of the municipality.
Yeah. It doesn't need to be just emergencies. Yeah. Keep it status quo. Okay, so it's been moved and seconded. I'll call the question. All those in favor?
Yep.
Opposed? Carried unanimously. Thank you. Okay, now move on. Yeah. Okay. Now we'll move on to 9C, which is the public notice bylaw amendment, a report dated January 17th, 2025, from our Chief Administrative Officers attached. Ms. Elrick.
Thank you. So given that the procedure bylaw was not adopted, I would recommend that Council defer readings to Anmore Public Notice Bylaw Amendment 705, 2025, as the updates to the public notice posting place align with this bylaw and do not if it is not adopted.
Motion to defer. Defer. Moved. Seconded. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor? Carried unanimously. Okay. Moving right along. We're now on to 9D, 135 Oak Court, Development Variance Permit, DVP 2025-01. Report dated January 17th, 2025 from Mr. Joseph.
Thanks, Mayor Pugin. So this is regarding report to council for DVP 2025-01 for 135 Oak Court. So 135 Oak Court is zone RS1 and features steep slopes ranging from 40% to 75% gradient at the upper portions of the lot. Property shared side boundaries with residential lots to the east and west and is bordered by municipal open space to the north. In June 2024, a building permit was issued for a single-family dwelling, a coach house, and retaining walls. While the retaining walls were built as approved, it was identified after that two did not comply with the zoning bylaws and therefore required a retroactive development variance permit, or DVP. DVP application has been submitted to vary section 5.12.3 to increase the maximum retaining wall height from 1.8 meters to 3 meters for a rockfall protection wall identified in cross-section E to E in the attached site plan, as well as section 5.12.4B to reduce the minimum retaining wall separation from 1.2 meters to 0.75 meters to support a septic field, also shown in cross-section BB in attached site plan. So the property has rock outcrops and rockfall hazards, so a protective wall was proposed as recommended by a geotechnical assessment. This wall was built on the north side of the property with heights ranging from 1.5 meters to 3 meters to meet the safety standards for the wall to be built at least 1.5 meters above finished grade. Most of the wall is within the zoning bylaw maximum of 1.8 meters height limit, but some parts are taller because the bedrock underneath was deeper than expected after excavation. The septic field to the northeast part of the lot is supported by two parallel retaining walls spanning 13 meters long, the east side property line. Zoning bylaws allow taller retaining walls if the height is split into two sections under 1.8 meters each, with at least 1.2 meters of space between them. While the walls meet height requirements and are each roughly 1.5 meters in height, the space between them is only 0.75 meters instead of the 1.2 meter requirement, which would require a variance of 0.45 meters. So geotechnical engineers inspected the site during the planning and construction of the rockfall protection wall and confirmed it meets safety requirements. The village also received formal assurances from the engineer that all retaining walls on the property comply with structural and geotechnical standards. Zoning regulations for retaining wall aim to preserve the hillside features, promote neighborhood aesthetics, and minimize impacts on the neighboring properties such as shadowing or obstructed views. These regulations are similar to fence height regulations as well, which are also 1.8 meters in height. Additionally, spacing between retaining walls allow for landscaping and screening, and when multiple walls exceed 1.8 meters each, landscaping and screening is required by our bylaw. Proper separation also supports the terrace design and aligns with the hillside natural form. So retaining wall section E to E is located towards the rear of the property and away from property lines. Most of the wall heights complies with the zoning bylaws, and staff don't anticipate impacts on neighboring properties because the walls are largely hidden from the streets by the proposed two-story dwelling and coach house. Retaining wall section B to B consists of two vertical walls that together exceed 1.8 meters, but not individually, meaning no landscaping requirement is required. The minimum separation between the walls ensures safety, structural integrity, and also preserves the natural landscape features. Both designs have professional and structural geotechnical assurances. The adjacent properties to the east may have some visibility of the wall from approximately 30 meters from the dwelling unit. However, the wall slope is comparable to a design that would conform to minimum separations, but that would utilize maximum height allowance of 3.6 meters. So therefore, any visual impacts to the neighboring property will likely be minimal in nature. Based on these factors, staff support the proposed variance and believe the overall intent of the retaining wall zoning regulations are upheld with no adverse impacts to the surrounding neighborhood character. The recommendation on the table is that staff be authorized to issue notice to affected properties of council's consideration of DVP 2025-01 to vary section 5.12.3 and section 5.12.4b of the Anmore zoning bylaw number 568 2017 to increase the maximum retaining wall height from 1.8 meters to 3 meters and to decrease the minimum separation between the two retaining walls from 1.2 meters to 0.75 meters for 135 Oak Court in accordance with the draft permit. Thank you.
Good, thank you. I just had a couple of questions before we move the recommendation. You know what, no, let's get the recommendation on the table first. Could I get someone to move the recommendation? Moved and seconded. I'll save my comments till the end. If anybody else has any other comments. Councillor Webering.
So essentially, we're taking a retaining wall that would normally be like this and kind of doing this, right? So one of my concerns would be safety, because usually when you have a terraced retaining wall, you fall off one and you just land on the landing. But this is getting a little steeper. Would there be a requirement to have a railing just for safety on top of that?
Sorry, the last part of your question through the chair?
Sorry, would there be a requirement to have a railing on the top part of the retaining wall?
I do not know that at this point. Yeah.
Okay.
I'm not sure if the bylaws would require.
Through the chair, it is likely required to have fall mitigation required as part of the building permit process due to the drop on either side. However, this would not be part of the DVP.
Okay.
It would be part of occupancy as it's reviewed for final occupancy of the
Okay, so
building
it's sort of
site.
where you would be covering railings anywhere on the build site, this would be part of that. Okay, I'm fine with that.
Councillor Richardson.
Okay, so it's happening a few times in the village, so I get the retaining wall aspect. I'm okay with it. I'm not okay with it if they stick a fence on top of the retaining wall, especially towards the neighbors. So the zoning bylaw also has in it that the fence height and the retaining wall height combined can't be more than 1.8 meter. So based on this, they won't be allowed to have a fence on top of their retaining wall. I don't think it should be in the variance permit. It can be somewhere else, but I think that should be explicitly stated somewhere.
So through the chair, retaining walls cannot be individually 1.8 meters, but it can collectively be up to 3.6 meters if it's separated by a distance of 1.2 meters. So the maximum height for two separate retaining walls is actually 3.6 meters.
Yes, but a fence combined with the retaining wall must be less than 1.8 meters. So along the east side of the property, they've built a terrace set of retaining walls. Some of them are quite high compared to the ground of the neighbor. If they put a fence on top of that, it will be drastically more than 1.8 meters. So what I want to be clear from a visual aspect of the neighbor, if they keep their retaining walls, they will not put a fence along it. There's a prime example of that on Sunnyside Road now, in that new 3-lot subdivision. There's a retaining wall, there's a 6-foot fence on top of the retaining wall. That is in violation of the building, not building code, the zoning bylaw, right? So I want to make sure that that doesn't happen here.
Yeah, through the chair, understood. This could be a condition, I suppose, to set a height limit on any fences being constructed on the retaining wall.
It's already in the zoning bylaw.
Correct. Yeah, just it's an extra nudge or prompt essentially, yes, so that it doesn't pass building permit without these considerations.
I guess, thank you. My concern is, Councillor Trowbridge, go ahead.
Yeah, just a question, because I was thinking about the same thing Councillor Weberink was thinking about. I mean, higher than 2 feet requires some fall mitigation. Is that somehow waived in this case? I'm looking at these numbers and the photos, and certainly sections are significantly higher than 2 feet. Are we, by restricting a safety fence on top, are we accepting some form of liability as a village?
I wasn't really clear to hear what he had to say there. Oh, is it possible to put up the? Oh,
If I may, I think he's asking, is there liability to the village if there's no safety constraints on top of the large thing and somebody falls and we're aware and didn't force them to have safety?
Correct. That's right, Doug.
yeah.
Yeah, so through the chair, same response as earlier, that would be picked up through the building inspector with full protection on the property. So if it's deemed required, the building inspector would have the authority to ensure that it was placed prior to occupancy of the final occupancy of the structure on the site.
So I have two comments. So this site has brought a lot of attention to even this council chamber and the fact of the amount of blasting that went on this site. And I know, hearing from almost all the neighbors, it certainly wasn't a pleasant experience that they went through. So I am going to be curious to see about how they're going to participate in this. I question, though, why this site maybe wasn't developed in a way that didn't need these extreme walls and retaining walls before even the construction started. Like in that being that the house could have been lifted up into a higher location so that they wouldn't be these extreme walls. So I'm wondering why we're in this case right now that a house is starting to be constructed and now we're coming here for a development variance permit, that we're even not sure about the size, from what I'm hearing from the questions from my colleagues, what the total size or height is going to be of the retaining walls with fences to prevent people from falling off of them down the road. You know, as you said, you know, Mr. Joseph, that these retaining walls don't need to be straight up and down. They could have been staggered back a bit. So why wasn't some of these steps taken in place? Why are we here right now is my question.
Yeah, to the chair, that's a good question. I can't speak to it. That's, you know, building official review, and that's building department review for a building permit. I mean, I bring development variance permits forward. Why that hasn't been addressed, I'm not too sure.
Okay. I think it would be wise for us to get an understanding of that, why the house couldn't have been lifted up and why we're in this situation. So we're going to obviously have to get a report. So I'm personally not ready to vote on this at this point because I would like some of those answers as to why we're in this situation that we currently are. So, but my colleagues may outvote me and that, so that's fine. But we have a motion on the table right now to move forward for a development variance permit. Any other comments? Councillor Richardson.
Okay, so I understand what you're saying, and I mostly agree with it, but the question I would have, if they don't get this variance permit now, what happens? Do they stop work? Like, I don't have a feel.
To the chair. So first of all, this is also a motion to consider the variance. This is not an approval of the variance. A public notice would be sent out to the adjacent properties, and then at a separate meeting, a subsequent meeting, that's when the approval would happen. So just to clarify that. Secondly, just like with anything, if it's not conforming or it's a legal structure, it will be asked to be removed or amended. Otherwise, you know, other enforcement measures will be addressed. Such as the section 57.
So with that, Mr. Joseph, could I make a friendly addition to the motion that's on the table of that we get a report back from our building inspector as to why the current situation is the way that it is, and if there's any other things that could be altered to alleviate some of these issues. As a friendly amendment? Okay.
So for clarification, the motion is still on the floor to issue the notice, but the expectation from council would be that before it comes back to council. A report from the building inspector would accompany it, reporting back on some of the concerns that were brought forward this evening.
Could this have been alleviated a lot of this, in essence? Yeah.
Understood.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Any further comments? I'll call the question with the amendment. All those in favor? Opposed? Carried unanimously. Thank you. We now will move on to 11A, appointment of our corporate officer. Ms. Elric will be appointed as our corporate officer in the absence of our of Michelle, who has moved on. So could I get someone to move the recommendation? Moved, seconded. Any discussion? See none. All those in favor? Opposed? Carried unanimously. Assessment Volunteer Fire Department, recommendation be the council appoint Councillor Weberink, Councillor Trowbridge, and myself as trustees, Assessment Volunteer Fire Department Board for 2025. Could I get someone to move that? Moved and seconded. Second.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor? Carried unanimously. Items of Committee of the Whole. As a December Committee of the Whole meeting, the following recommendation was made. Ms. Elric, do you want to speak to this?
Thank you. So the recommendation would just be simply to ratify the motion that was passed at Committee of the Whole. So that would be that staff be directed to consider comments provided during the Committee of the Whole meeting held on December 2nd, 2024, regarding input for the rezoning of Pinnacle Ridge zoning amendment bylaw 699, 2024, and respond to the applicant.
Someone to move that? Moved. Seconded. Any discussion? Oh, Councillor Weber.
So basically, this goes, all those notes go forth to the applicant, and the idea is that they incorporate that into their next version.
Yeah.
Correct, and we have included the facilitator notes in the agenda. If there's any discussion on that, we're happy to receive comment.
And I think there's a fly-through on the village website in that whole development, is there not?
Correct, there was the video of Ariel that was recently posted, yes.
For residents to note if they want to look at what they hope it's going to look like.
Good.
Okay, thank you.
Call the question. All those in favor? Opposed? Carried unanimously. Okay, move on to the mayor's report. Just a few things. Budget deliberations will be ongoing. We're doing our best to try and get our budget completed soon, and Ms. Martin is here, and we're trying to sharpen the pencil as much as we can. There's intense pressure with inflationary numbers and the cost of goods sold in regards to things, but we're waiting for a few more determining factors before we can actually start finalizing things. The mild weather and no snow has certainly been advantageous to our public works crew and alleviating some of the pressures on that for scheduling. I also wanted to say a big thank you to Georgia Lions and another successful year of the Candy Cane Lane. Really amazing, especially when you're out of the community and people are saying about how they come up to Anmore and drive down Ravenswood. It's really something, and it's really great to see the support of all the individual homeowners. February 16th, the Saskatchewan Volunteer Fire Department is putting on a home fire safety. You have to register for this, and it's being put on February the 16th. Other thing, and the last thing, on a sad note, over the holidays, we lost somebody who was very much involved in the community, the passing of Glenna Barron. And I just wanted to pass along my condolences to her husband, Steve, and Glenna was out at everything all the time, and it's really sad. That's all I have for the Chief Administrative Officers. I'll move on to Councillor reports. Councillor Weber.
Yeah, I'd also like to thank Georgia Lions for doing Candy Cane Lane. I did a little Christmas light tour with my wife and a friend, and that was one of the highlights for sure. And I'd also like to give condolences to Glenna Barron's family, particularly Steve. I did attend the memorial, and Glenna was a friend, and she was a very, very unique, wonderful individual. So I feel better for knowing her, and I'm sorry of her loss.
Any other councillor reports? No? Okay, we'll move on to the Chief Administrative Officer's report. Ms. Elric.
Thank you. So just a reminder to folks that pet license renewals have been sent out for everybody, and if you don't currently have your pet license, applications are available on the village website, and those are due in March. Also, business license renewals for those businesses have been sent out end of the year and are also due. I just also wanted to take the opportunity to address some emergency preparedness measures that the village takes. I know that right now that emergency preparedness is of top of mind to a lot of people due to the unfortunate fires and other natural disasters that are happening in California and elsewhere. So I just wanted to give a bit of a reminder to the community of things that we do here at the village and resources that are available to the community. So last year we did launch our alertable public notification system. So you can sign up for alerts, choose your notification method. It can be your home number, your mobile number, your text or app. So sign up is available on our website. And, as always, if you have trouble finding that, please give us a shout at Village Hall and we'll be happy to direct you to that. Also, in terms of emergency preparedness, we have a section on our website. We do have this guide that we have produced, which includes basic information to respond to emergencies, how to get ready for evacuation, those types of things. It's at the front counter. I did leave a couple copies out here this evening and also available on our website electronically. Additionally, in order to meet many of the legislative requirements, staff does participate in exercises both independently and with other neighboring communities and agencies, and those are simulation exercises that simulate actual emergencies so that we can all practice what we would do and learn from those. Staff also has representation at various bodies throughout the region, including the Integrated Program Regional Emergency Management, which is overseen by the province, the Regional Emergency Management Planning Committee, which includes the entire southwest region of the province, the Northeast Sector Group, which is the Tri-Cities Plus, we call ourselves, and Coquitlam First Nation. We engage with School District 43. And also, we're currently undertaking some work with Indigenous engagement, which is a new requirement under legislation, and working with a consultant with grant funding, so at no cost to the village, to meet those requirements. We were able also through grant funding to purchase equipment and supplies to have a dedicated space, which is located just off of our boardroom area in the Village Hall here. And we are almost ready, again with grant funding, to be going out for a request for proposals to update our wildfire protection plan, which has not been updated for some years now. So we're excited to get onto that work this year and hope to have some report back and updates on that hopefully by the summer.
Good.
So just wanted to go over a few of those things. Thank you.
Perfect, thank you. It's good to make everybody aware of all that is going on with our emergency preparedness and that in the village. So, good. Okay, we have some information items, some general correspondence. The only thing I wanted to point out on the general correspondence was the letter dated December 17th from the BC Epilepsy Society regarding International Purple Day. On March 26th. I was wondering if we could possibly put the purple lights on the village make sure that's planned for March 26th in honor of BC Epilepsy Awareness.
Certainly staff can take that direction.
Yeah, perfect. That's for March 26th. And I'll open up now for public question period. No? I will then call for adjournment. Motion to adjourn, moved, seconded. All those in favor? Carried unanimously. Thank you, everyone. We were a little rusty for the first one of the year, but we made it. Oh, yeah, we